firmly even within the dark.
So, welcome to your weekly update on all things Eve, as well as your weekly playlist update. This is New Eden FM, and if you've ever wondered why we're not on YouTube, that's why we refuse not to bring you the tunes. This is Maestro, I promise. I'm okay today. I didn't go out last night, which means I'm not tipsy or otherwise. In the studio, yours truly, you probably have a copy of her in your organization, certainly not the one and only Alondria. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing good this morning, and all of you is tuned in this morning and listening because I think we're going to have an incredible show, so everybody should be tuned in too.
Yeah, so how many ears is that?
You can't fit me all in a fleet, so that's a lot of years.
Okay. And Latara Tassador, I understand that you've been out killing more Isk today, yes? Oh boy, I want. Oh, you're okay. You're with us, so you're not out
I was
killing.
tackled.
You were tackled. What the
Yeah,
hell?
yeah, yeah. Yeah. I recently discovered. Yeah, I recently discovered frigates are fun, so I've been flying a Daredevil.
I mean, I don't know what to say, except, I mean, why not, right? So you guys know how we
Yeah, and
roll. No, go.
somehow flying and losing a Daredevil a bunch of times is somehow cheaper than losing a bunch of Megathrons. I'm still
Really?
not sure how that works, but
Oh wow. Who would have guessed that? I mean, for those of you guys that aren't economists in the world of Eve, lesson number one, if you lose a frigate, it's never going to hurt as much as losing a battleship, especially a Tech 10 Striker battleship. You happen to be piloting
that's
a
not
Striker.
T10s. I don't.
No, a Striker Yeetatron. I mean, you've yeeted a Striker Megathron
Haven't.
before.
I'll. No. I've built one and I've got the fit sort of ready to go. I'm just waiting on the right time to actually yeet the thing.
Oh, well, the right time is
There is
when we
no
team up.
time.
Oh my gosh, we're gonna debate this. The right time is when you and I team up, and we can just like yeet our strikers together. Cause I still have an APOC striker that's just sitting there, waiting to be yeeted. Think about
Just
that.
Eat
do it.
or not eat? That is the age-old
Someone's gonna
question.
just like post that in the sound of us, that gif. Just do it. Just do it already. And we are just doing things on today. You know how we do it. First up, your weekly update on all the cool Eve Echoes things. So how you liking these error riffs? I believe that Latara would probably have the download on that one. They've been running quite a few of
Yeah, yeah.
them. Also, your weekly Q&A. Um, I believe that was there a Q&A today? Yeah, there was a Q&A for last week. I had to double check to make sure because they always drop them on random days. Either way, have all those things and more for you coming up right now. Starting off with the request. And by the way, Alondria, before we move on, where are we today? 'Cause I gotta fly out there.
We are in Jita in honor of the first light, actually including Jita, not just pushing Amar.
Holy cow. Ooh.
I know, right?
Yeah, more New Eden news
I felt
breaking
that
right
was worth
there.
ce-
Yeah, your
Yeah, I
first
felt that was
request.
worth celebrating.
It is. It is. So the first request up on the list, this one is from Amy. Turn it up for Still Tipsy. It's the remix by Jay Fonter.
Weekly update on all things Eve Echoes and Eve Online. New Eden News.
Welcome to New Eden News, guys. And I guess things have been like slowly trickling down, I guess, a little bit since we were opening the second anniversary.
And if you're PvPing or PvEing, like they're good, really good. At first, I wasn't too impressed. I was like, "Oh, it's Will of Steel nanocores," and then I looked at the stats and went, "Oh, that's perfect for a build I'm working on." So, yeah, I say it's interesting. It's not difficult content, excuse me, but yeah, I've been enjoying the little bit of a grind.
Nice, nice. So is it content that you need to have a specific ship class to go in? And do you need like multiple people to do it?
I mean, I think with a fully tanked T9 or T10 battleship, or faction obviously, you can run them pretty comfortably solo.
At least you're not working in
Obviously,
trio.
sorry, obviously it's nihilist space, so there is a chance of PvP. So maybe at least duo or trio, and basically taking it in turns to loot the boxes. You'd get through them very very quickly. Um, I dual box through them, so I get through them maybe 20 to 30 minutes for the larger sites.
Good, good, awesome. So to be clear, the sleeper sites are definitely group content, groups of four. You run in there, you run into a boss saw, and this feels like it's a little bit more arbitrary towards solo play, which is really nice because it gives people, number one, it gives explorers something else they can scan down, and number two, it's just really good to have a little bit more stuff you can do on those off hours when you're the only person online and the friends you normally do stuff with are not.
Oh yeah, I mean it's reasonable content. I wouldn't say it's either game breaking or the best thing that Ease have ever done, but it's solid. It's something a little different to do, and I mean I recommend it because the Will of Steel Nanos are great if you need to build a tanky ship.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, there you go. It's more content in the game. Plus, I'll be honest with you, I'd probably just do it for the sake of, like why not? Um, it's like I don't see a reason like not to do it. So, it looks like the store is going to be opening, or it's already open. It opened as of the 21st, the 21st, and it looks like it's only open for a limited time. So there I'm assuming that this is not going to be permanent content in the game. It's only event content, and we might see it in seasons, perhaps.
Yeah, this is the second time they've had the era rifts. So
Yeah,
I mean, the first time I think it was pretty much like skins, and that was about it. But this time around, you've got a chance of grinding up for nanocores, and it seems reasonably placed as a grind. Like I say, like 15, 20, 25 sites for the battlecruiser battleship nano box. So
yeah,
it's attainable. It's not outside of the vast majority of players, like some of like the Illusionary Ghosts nanocores or the Neon Rain nanocores. Like they were, basically those ones came down to: do you have a fat wallet in real life?
yeah. Pretty much. I mean, that's just the way that it is, right? So many of these mobile games are yielding to a pay-to-win model, where you can pay for advantages on, in actual combat and in PvP scenarios. I think that that's pretty bad. I mean, most of you guys can remember the huge amounts of grind that we put in some of the earlier games like EverQuest, Final Fantasy 11, and other games that were really, really grindy. You paid that monthly subscription fee, but what you were really paying for was for them to continue to produce new content and things like that. But anything you got in the game that was worth having, best believe that person, worked for it. And I'm just, as I said on last week's show, I'm terrified that we're starting to lose that part of the gameplay experience, especially when it comes to mobile gaming. Still exists in a lot of our console games. You're gonna get it in like Total War. There is no way to get a competitive edge there without practicing and becoming good at what you do. And you're gonna get it in um, most other strategy games. But like with mobile games, um, or should I say, you'll get it with most PC games or console games. Mobile gaming is just plagued by this thing, and I think it's kind of bad. But at least in this case, more people can get it, and they were complaining about the accessibility of the implant content. So I hope that this will help out some of our pilots. I kind of wish that they had also allow capital ship pilots to go in to grind this out in subcap ships, maybe earn a purple core for their capital ship, which is something that's still locked behind upwards to $1,000 paywall, and I think that that's a problem.
Oh, for sure. I mean, the only purple capital nanos have come from events where you had to spend hundreds of dollars to actually attain them, and that just feels a bit off to me.
It's
Same
painful.
here.
Yeah,
I
It's
don't really like the amount of pay to win. I get it. I mean, if they made it more affordable, maybe I wouldn't have as much problem with it. I mean, I understand it's a gaming company. They have to actually make money to keep the game running. At the same time, hundreds of dollars for a single thing just sounds like unadulterated greed to me, rather than providing content to the people who are, most of which are paying monthly to play the game
yeah.
itself already.
I mean, the game,
So,
the subscription fee for for Duo Omega, which is the most reasonable, um, it's the most reasonable, in terms of like playing this game. Not many people are playing basic Omega, unless they're doing it just for like their additional clones or whatever. But we're already paying 14 or $15 if you're US, and I believe it's somewhere around like on an Eve, right? But
I'm gonna be completely honest. I would pay 25 a month for EO if they would let us walk in stations again.
oh my gosh, that was the captain's quarters. I remember it. It was amazing, and it was the first step in them giving us an opportunity to well, what we were supposed to have was essentially what is going on. I think Elite Dangerous, where nowadays you don't have to just pilot the ship. You can kind of get out and walk around, and there are different places you can walk around. And of course, Star Citizen, which is the game that I think that most of you spacefaring people are waiting for if you own a PC, where you get to actually live the life of an actual pilot or starship commander with a crew of people that are actually human. Um, but you can walk around and you can do different things off your ship. So I, I I really wish that they had continued that, but they removed it. They got rid of the captain's quarters, and it really wasn't even a very big space. It was a tiny little space that you could walk around in while you were docked, and it was one of the very few places. It was the only place in all of EVE Online that you could, you know, take control of yourself, and you knew you were more than just like a little pod in a ship or whatever. And they got rid of it, and I went back, and I was like, "Hey guys, what happened to the captain's quarters or whatever?" And they were like, "Oh, they got rid of it, and they never brought it back." I'm like, oh my gosh. It was, I know that it didn't really serve a major purpose in the game, but it was just, it was fun. Like, I was immersed in the game when I was able to do that, and I was like, guys, make it so we can actually walk around and interact with other capsuleers. There are so many books about EVE Online where, it's more than just the capsular in a pod, just doing space things. There's more to the universe than just that. And we got a taste of it, and then they took it away from us. And I was like, oh my gosh, why would you do this? It wasn't taking up that much in the way of like system resource. And EVE Online is one of the one of the smallest games in terms of like sizes of any MMO. It doesn't take that much hard drive space, so Rip those quarters. That's all I can say, man. Rip. But
Yeah, and then in terms of those paid events, like especially with like the Neon Rain one, I know there's plenty of people who spent money on that event. Um, I was a little bit, um, I cheesed it a little bit in terms of how I managed to get the points that I got. Um, I first joined, I think, day 2 of Echoes, because I was busy that first day and I didn't actually get to make an account. Um, from that point until shortly after we joined Sixth, just about every single bit of ISK I made got pumped into Plex, all the way up until the point that it hit probably around 1 million the first time. And then during the Neon Rain event, I liquidated something like 30,000 Plex that I had sitting in my account, and I still didn't even get one of those capital Neon Rain cores.
Oh,
that's
damn.
that's terrible.
Yeah, it sounds like you're one of the people I didn't listen to when I first started playing Echoes. Buy Plex, buy Plex.
Oh man,
Oh, but I
everyone
want to
was
fancy
saying
new
it.
shit.
Everyone was saying it. Everyone was like, yeah, just buy the Plex now. I'm telling you, it's gonna go up. Buy Plex now. I'm telling you, it's gonna go up. And just like they said, it did in fact go up, and it went up. It went up a lot. It went up a whole lot. So I feel
I
bad that I didn't invest
I
either.
remember that the very first flex, I think like 1,000, 5,000 each or something low and crazy.
Yeah, they started at 20. They opened at 20,000.
Yeah, it was really, really. I mean, compared now, I mean, if you bought Plex at 20,000, just think about what your profit margin would be since selling at what 2.7 million now.
I spiked at close to 3 mil the past week.
Jeez. Well,
But the
I,
thing is, so I know, like some people and some organisations sort of look down on whales to a degree. I'll say it, not pointing fingers at anyone, but I mean the thing I've said. I think I was talking to one of our new court members yesterday, and he was asking, "Oh, is it like, am I dumb to buy the Concord Pass, like the advanced pass, so you get the paid version as well?" And I turned around to him and said, "I can't really say yes or no, because on one hand, you can spend a little bit, get a little bit more stuff, and yeah, it speeds you up a little bit down that progression, getting your first nano core or whatever. It's like you've got to think to yourself, is that money better spent for me in real life or on this game? And if someone has that expendable, fair enough. But I was just saying to him, like, don't put yourself out if you're going to be struggling in real life because you're putting more money into your game. I mean, the Concord Pass is what, effectively like $5, which, which basically means you're upping your subscription from 15 to 20, and it can be a big expense for some people.
yeah, I
So
mean,
I,
it depends on who you are, and it really just depends on what you do as a job, right? I made that statement. I
oh, for
mean,
sure.
I'm a broke college student. Like I'm just being completely honest about the whole thing. I really am. And it just so happens I work as a DJ, so I do pretty well. But for the most part, it's one of those things where if I'm gonna drop $50 on something in Eve Echoes, I have to bear in mind that okay, so if I drop $50 on this game, that's kind of the extent of what I'm probably gonna spend on video games right now. Know what I mean? So it
Oh, for sure.
it's a decision where either I drop it on Eve Echoes or I drop it somewhere else. And I think a lot of players are in the same circumstance because you do have your whales. You're always going to have whales. It's impossible to have a mobile game and not have whales if there is a way for the whales to whale. Hell, Tower of Fantasy is not even like majorly well yet because at the moment it feels more like playing feels more like playing Final Fantasy in its earlier days, where it's mostly like costumes you're getting, and of course you can get like weapons if you really, really, really want to gamble and play the gotchas. But at the moment, it feels a little bit more like Final Fantasy 14 ARR, and there was a guy, like one of my friends over there, sent me a screenshot, and he had spent 300 euros. 300 euros in one day. I was like, dude, why? It's not even, it's not even necessary. He sends me a screenshot showing himself having spent 300 euros on the Apple Store, and he just says, I got bored. I'm like, dude, dude. But,
Oh yeah.
but
I mean,
that's
I think the most I've spent on this game is in one hit is buying the is it 3 month bundle. I'm like, I'm gonna spend it over the course of those 3 months anyway. It's a bit of a saving. I get a bit of plex with it, and I had the spare money that week, so I was like, yeah, okay. But
I mean, oh,
I
don't
know there
worry.
are some people out there who can literally go, oh, well, I can't be asked ratting, I can't be asked mining, I'm just going to drop 200, 300 bucks on Plex, and now I'm good.
Sounds like something Mel would do.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, but I'm gonna digress because I know that this kind of it does disappoint people a little bit, like with the flow of how these things go. Of course, early last week, Concord did in fact drop a letter of thanks, and really quick, what it says is, "Dear Capsuleer, the starships flew across the sky. In this peaceful world, we embrace a shared destiny with a promising future for the mankind." Okay, translation issues there maybe? I don't know. Thanks to the New Eden Capsuleers for their efforts in the New Eden. May every voyage be safe and sound, and may every life be peaceful and harmonious. At this moment, we pray for our own destiny. Let all unpleasantness be gone. Let is our goal is always ahead. Good. Human beings who shoulder too much responsibility are always forging ahead. May mankind prosper. Distant stars are shining brightly, silently awaiting us. Hey, it sounds like they're predicting the that Silent is going to take over all of New Eden one day, and that'll be the end of all times. We should do something about it. Jokes aside, sorry, Rambo. um, okay, so we didn't have a Q&A for this week. They were busy doing all this other stuff, and of course, there's if you check out the announcement part of the new or the Evaco's Discord, there's, what's your favorite soundtrack? So there are four soundtracks this year. They did invest a lot more in their audio, which, given my trade, I can appreciate that. But yeah, the sleepers, the cycle of termination, dormant realm, and implants. So not sure about the soundtracks, but they always do a pretty good job when it comes to the when it comes to um, the music. Oh my gosh, someone just said Pantheon 2.0. Really, Nathan? Oh wait, did Pantheon really conquer the server up until the end of that whole thing? I don't know. I don't know. But I believe that that's pretty much the whole of it for New Eden news. At least I think, unless Latara, am I missing something? Not really.
I don't think so.
Okay, we're good then. So, for those of you guys that did not hear the anthem of New Eden FM, the Sky Shadow Sonata, that was created by yours truly. Here's the full track for it on New Eden FM as we prepare to bring you Alrighty, welcome to the State of the War report. And we don't do this segment as often right now because, as most of you guys know, New Eden is in a state of, well, what's essentially a disgusting amount of peace. Anyone care to disagree with me on that one? Wait, none of you will because it's a disgusting amount of peace. So, in an effort to create some content, Burr, in collaboration with SHH and also No Please Stop, has dropped a content citadel in the, I believe it's the M Tech O EE8 system, and so that's the King of the Hill citadel, and anyone is free to go over there and shoot that citadel. You are free to go over there and to challenge for the citadel. You can do whatever you want to. The rule is only that when it is time for the actual fights, like hull fights and stuff like that, it has to be 50 ships, one fleet, all sub-capitals, no capitals. You drop in capitals, well, there'll be repercussions. And also, if you win King of the Hill, you cannot downgrade that citadel. Otherwise, it's an open invitation for SHH, No, and Bird to come after you, and that will mean war. And I mean, trust me when I tell you, all three of those groups are chomping at the bit for content. So if you win King of the Hill, don't downgrade the Citadel. It's really not in your best interest to do that. But once King of the Hill does get rolling and we have some content, we'll try to get some streams going for you guys so that you can check it out here. I'll poke some of the other content creators. I know that Rambo is busy at the moment. Damon Zell, I'm not sure if Damon Zell is with us today, but I would actually like us to stream some of the content for some of these battles. The ones that I'm not FCing, of course, because I want to get in on some of these Citadel battles. Most of you remember that the time that I spend as an FC, most of it is FCing like objective type things, such as Citadel battles. So I'm kind of itching to get back into leading some fleets that are like fighting over structures and stuff like that. Either way, someone go and shoot the Citadel. Right now, I think it's vulnerable and no one is messing with it. But it's like, guys, just shoot it. We'll fleet up and fight you. It'll be fine. Just do it.
As we said earlier, just do it.
Just
You're welcome,
do it.
content in
Yep.
Burr.
Just do it. Just do it. All of the alliance leaders should be in the know about the Citadel, about where you can find the Citadel, and it's right off Tazy. I mean, literally, it's right off low sec. As soon as you get into Tazy, you can stage up all your stuff. I mean, dude, it's just one jump into null sec. Go in, get the content, fight some people, have some fun fights. It's literally structure warfare without all the messy Diplo bullshit in it.
And only 8 jumps from Jita. Buy your weird and wacky experimental doctrine and go and yeet it into MTACO and see if it works.
Yeet into MTACO, man. Yeah, I mean, yeah, downgrade is life for you, No. For you, Charizard. No has made a killing off of those those parts, and I think we had a joke. Mel probably won't kill me too much for saying it on the air now because it was just I don't think it's OPSEC. So we made the joke that, like, I know that No and SHH, they did donate parts to upgrade the Citadel, and they came up with the parts really fast, and the joke was that I'm pretty sure that all of these are from JitFed Citadels because they are already ready to go in Jita. And I was like, yep. Yep.
Yeah, most
Yep.
probably they came from
Yep.
from Citadels that were previously owned by Gen Corps.
Probably Orc Citadels. I mean, those Citadels were fat, dude.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But either way, the Citadel is there, so just don't downgrade the Citadels, and you won't have to answer to all of the people that are rubbing their hands together menacingly for a fight. But that is that whole thing. Go over there, get some content. It'll be fun. Right now in the studio, we have a representative from the newly resurrected Six. I believe it is Perpetuous. You heard his voice earlier during the news segment. So, first of all, thanks for being on the show, and also thanks for taking part in the conversation and offering some of your insight and observations about the game during that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. I don't think I've done the only other interview I've done is a text-based one with PM Blue.
Jeez, like like, dude, when was that? Because I haven't seen PM Blue in forever, and he used to message me at least a couple times a week, because content creators and all.
Yeah, it's been a little while. If I remember correctly, he's also doing the college thing. So
Oh, okay. Well, if any of you SHH guys are listening, you hear this, and you're in contact with PM Blue, send him my regards. He used to send me messages all the time, and I kind of miss hearing from him. So let him know that we're still thinking about him. He's still a fellow content creator, and yeah, I know college life it's rough. I'm going on my 6th year myself, and that probably means you guys won't be seeing me as much outside of like the radio show and some other stuff, but that's then, this is now. Latara, I believe that this is more or less your thing. You love warmongering, so please lead us in this one.
Mongering? Warmongering? Me?
Warmongering.
Who wants to fight? Anyway, so obviously, Perpetua, so again, it's welcome to the show. And obviously, I think before we get into too much of what you guys have been up to in terms of your own little warmongering, in Sixt is back. I mean, what prompted this?
so the to be completely honest, the separation the first time when we kind of dissolved there effectively prompted this. Everyone wanted to go do the null thing, try their hand at empire building and getting insane amounts of ISK and caps and all that other fun stuff, right? And there were a good number of us who, either within leadership or outside of leadership, who voiced our concerns with that sounds horribly boring and like you have to deal with political nullsec stuff. So I made the joke. I made the joke when everyone left. I was like, "Hey, you guys are going to be back by the end of the year," and everyone's like, "No, it'll be better than that." People went out to TF. When TF tried to restart, some people went out to try their hand elsewhere alone and build from that, and what have you. And I was working. What I do for work usually keeps me out and away from home for several months at a time. And I was about 2 weeks from coming home, and I posted in the Six Discord, Six is coming back. And that was it. That's all I posted. And within 24 hours, I had messages flooding in from the old leadership team, a bunch of other former members, because for the longest time, our Discord had been open to all access. So everyone could see every message that had ever been sent in the Discord. And I was just like, you know what? Hey, Six is coming back. I didn't expect it would be that quick. I thought I was actually going to have to work a little bit to get everyone convinced to come back. In the meantime, like the guys that I fly with in Hiss, we had been doing the same thing we've always done with our little 10-man small gang stuff. So it wasn't really a big issue for us not having the Six tag, but every now and then I like to get a fleet of guys together to go yeet some Tristans into Null and see what happens. You can't really do that with only 10 guys in Corp, so.
I see you were saying I think you have all but a couple of the original Six member corps and then a couple of new faces as well. I mean, I think you picked up Mug, the Muggers of Syndicate, as they're well known. as well as Nomadic Nightmare, who were formerly with Trimark. And I mean, from what I've seen of both groups, they are killers.
Well, those both of those groups were original six members as well.
Oh, were
Mug
they?
was around. Mug was around right after Hiss joined Sixth, and NNHT was around. They were our first Sov holding corp, and then they left to join someone else, and then from there, they ended up with Trimark. So both of those guys were original six members. The only, I think there's three corps: Black Flag Pirating, Black Rise, and our oh so entertaining friends over at FAP are the only three from the original six that are not in currently.
Oh, awesome. So yeah, getting the band back together well and truly.
Yeah, and without all the hassle of oh we hold SOV, oh we have CTAs, oh there's taxes. Our taxes are 2 million a week because I don't want to have actual taxes and I don't want to deal with putting money in the alliance wallet for the for the tag maintenance fee.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, so I think we were talking off air as well. Like you've already had. I mean, in the short time you've been back, is it three contracts, two of which are completed, one's ongoing? So I mean, do you want to talk a little bit about those?
So our two completed ones, one of them was a high payout, semi-internal bounty. We didn't publish it to. Oh, Damon just asked if PHP is rejoining Sixth. Damon, PHPC is currently in Sixth. um, but it was someone from outside of Sixth pulled out a fairly sizable contract um, against another individual, and they only wanted specific hunters going after them. For whatever reason their purposes were. It didn't matter to me. People got paid. That's all that really mattered. And they completed that. The hunters they selected to do it completed that contract in, I want to say, 36 hours.
That's rather impressive.
And then um, the other one was a structure kill contract that became a structure stealing contract.
Oh, nice.
And
Who?
that's done and said over with. Um, just people leaving someone else's space, and they wanted to evict them, and then they agreed to leaving, and then they were like, "Hey, if you steal all of these, you can have them as additional payment."
I mean,
So they gave us all these
that's always a
timers.
bonus, right? And then obviously, I think you said you've got one ongoing. I mean, who's that against right now?
So our ongoing one is an addition to the structure stealing, where someone kind of added on a rider contract to that, where they were willing to pay above market for the structures that were being stolen.
Okay, fair enough, fair enough. So obviously, I think we've spoken a little bit. It's you were saying it's pure piracy is what Sixt is all about. The contracts is almost a side gig. I mean, it seems like Sixt is about just having fun with your corp mates and alliance mates and just causing mayhem. I mean, it's definitely an interesting setup and purely low sec, I believe, or
No, we don't have a set home. We're gonna start doing a rotating staging based on where we decide to harass for, every month. We're gonna pick a new section of space to go harass for a month until either they pay us to leave or someone pays us to go shoot at someone else instead. Um, and outside of that, like, there's a little bit of a doctrine, but not really. It's more of a, hey, if you're asked to bring this to a fleet, don't beg and question to fly something else. You just wouldn't be able to fly in that specific fleet. We don't have any taxes outside of that 2 million a week, just for maintaining the alliance tag. There's no CTAs. Um, we don't even like legitimately do any internal affairs and operations in terms of the corps. Like they do whatever it is they see fit to do, and then happen to have other people who they can fly with and go shoot at things when they get antsy.
Which means anyone listening, Six Taxi is still not safe, even though Mug have joined a new organization.
Yeah, we don't have any blues within Sixth. That's the other thing is we're no longer gonna do you get to be blued for the contract, um, unless it's gonna be paid for. That was something we ran into right at the end where someone wanted to contract us, wanted us to set blue for the contract, and then they didn't set us blue, so we got shot at by their pilots. So it was loads of fun. Losing several ships to what I had assumed were friendly fleets because we were being paid by them, and they just decided not to set us blue. Uh,
That's a
yeah,
bit.
yeah, it was great. Good times. Good times had by all. So, yeah, we're not gonna do that anymore. So there are no blues on the list, in Sixth outside of one person's holding corp. The original Sixth Alliance executive, Good Space guy, he has an alt corp that I don't even think he uses anymore, but we've kept it set as blue as kind of a legacy thing, and that's it.
So nobody is safe from the piracy of Sixth, is what I'm hearing here.
Oh yeah, no, we're definitely going to be shooting at everyone and everything, including each other, because one of our alliance rules is never not shoot blues. Um, Strictly because sometimes that's the only people you run into are each other.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think you were saying again off air. It's the only real sort of stipulation on that is not blindsiding each other, right? Like not just
Oh yeah,
showing
yeah,
up.
exactly. We don't want anyone like hot dropping on each other or anything like that. So like if you put out a thing that says, hey, like if someone puts out an announcement, hey, our corp is going to shoot at you guys if we see you, like that's acceptable. That is okay. You can do that. um, we have a bit of an internal affairs thing going on with that right now because someone was complaining that one corp said that they were going to shoot another corp. I was like, well, that sounds like a you guys thing. Like both your leadership teams are okay with that whole situation.
Yeah, it's one of those. I think some people don't get behind the whole NPSI sort of mentality. So not purple shoot it for anyone wondering that acronym. But it can be a good blast, and as long as people know it's going on, there's not really any harm in it, especially with the insurance system.
Yeah, I mean, I've had people private message me after I took a NPSI fleet out, like people who we had known and flown with who got hit by us, but they were outside of Alliance, and they were like, "Oh, you need to announce when you're bringing an NPSI fleet through here." I was like, "That's not at all the point of an NPSI fleet. It's dumb." I was like, "I'm not blue to
Yeah,
you,
that's
blue to me."
like you say opening a Diplo ticket on say Void's Diplo server and saying, "Yo, I'm coming to hit you in about 2 hours time." It's not really how this game works, right? I mean, if you've got a good intel team, maybe it comes across that way sometimes. Like you can see people's pings and react accordingly, but nah, unless you're scheduling a fight, I really don't think there's any need to ping ahead.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
some people do get a little butthurt when roams come through their territory.
I mean, I could argue that you in your past have with that 100-man response for that NID a while back.
Oh, I mean, Jen, that was back with Jen, and it was. I mean, it was when capitals were still relatively new, and that ping goes out on a server, carrier tackled. Everyone and their dog gets in fleet or just yeets their way to go and help, trying to be the hero. Usually ends up in more of the fleet dying than needs to, but I'd argue that everyone pretty much does it that way. That ping is a ping you don't want to see on your server. Everyone likes to see the enemy carrier tackled, and then, but you don't want friendly carrier tackled.
Hey man, fireworks are fireworks. It doesn't matter whose ship it is.
Oh yeah, I'm of the opinion like ships are made to be blown up. I lost my carrier to OG and immediately reached out to them and congratulated them on a tackle well pulled off and a good kill, and then I went back to ratting.
Yeah, no, I've always flown with the if I've undocked it, it's dead.
Oh, very much the right way to fly. I mean, then you're not too attached.
There are
So
sometimes
then,
though where the adrenaline gets going when it's a real close fight, and I'll be disappointed, because you're looking back at it and you're like, oh, I should have done this or I should have done that. That's what I get disappointed over. It's not over the ship. It's I screwed up here.
oh yeah, it's definitely one of those. I think a lot more people just need to understand, especially in nullsec and even in lowsec, that docking in nullsec or lowsec is consent to PvP, regardless of what you actually feel. Undocking in those sections of space is consent to PvP, and the salt you get from people from time to time, it's just glorious. It's like there's certain places that are actually fun to roam in a way, partially because of the salt you get, but partially because you can get some good reactions from people, and be that like the straight up salt, and it's like, dude, what do you expect? You live in Nullsec. To people who are actually like, oh, thanks for the content, even if you blew them up or they blew you up, and you can have a laugh and a joke about it.
Yeah, because you're either. I mean, there's really only two options anymore. You've either got the guys who are gonna turtle or blob you when you show up, or you've got guys who will show up with something at least remotely close to your numbering capability to fight you and have a good time.
Oh yeah, but those reactions are hard to gauge even on the defender's side. I mean, you could ping one day and maybe get 10 people in battleships to try and chase off a roam, and then you can ping the next day or even a few hours later, and you get 4 or 5 times that, and it turns into a blob. Like, I mean, what are you going to do as the FC? You're not going to be like, oh, sorry guys, we already kind of outnumber them like 1.5 to 1. Oh, I think we shouldn't add any more to the fleet. It's like, nope, get in fleet, let's go, let's get these people out of our space.
I will say the only time that's really worked for us really well is out in CE and I space, over like beer space and whatnot, out that way on the western edge. And I want to say they brought 12 caps to us, and when they left, one of them missed the Sino.
Oh no.
And so we were able to tackle him, and we got him pretty close to being down. And when they came back, they more than tripled the number that they brought back the first time. So we went from fighting a 70-man fleet with 12 caps to
saying what that, like I said, that friendly capital tackled ping does to an alliance. And I mean,
it makes for good times. I mean, the few times that you do get the capital kills, it's amazing, especially when you like we try to limit ourselves on how many people we bring on roams. Like as awesome as a 50-man scepter roam I'm sure is, uh, you're going to kill something. Like you've got enough people. At that point it's a numbers game, right?
Oh yes.
It's I
And
mean it's
you're
the
hard to
old
deal with it.
yeah, it's the old rooks and kings adage, right? You know, it's their numbers got more, so we had to get better, right? You
Oh
can
yeah.
always
I
throw
remember.
more at something.
I remember watching because a good friend from No Run is very much a big fan of Lord Maldoror, and he was always going, "You need to watch these. What's he called? The series."
Oh, the clarion call.
Yes, and his voice is just on point. I've got to say that. But it was Rooks and Kings, the pilots in Eve, who are all about the fight of the few against the many. And some of the stuff I've seen them pull off in those videos is dumb, and it shouldn't have gone their way, right?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, at least within Hiss, I know some other guys and some of the other corps in Six don't really have the same mentality, but at least in Hiss, we will openly refuse people from joining our fleet. Um, we cap it at 10 ships. There
Oh, yeah.
is no room for any others. It is 10 ships and it's an RSVP. There's a post that goes out that says, "Hey, react for the roam," and once it hits 10, it closes, and that's it.
Nice.
Those people are the ones who are going.
Nice, very selective, but it probably gets people excited to go, especially if you guys are pulling off some of these mad shenanigans.
Oh yeah, it gets a lot of front page on the on our server. I remember a while back we had a few people who got in an argument because someone was going to be someone had an emergency that they had to go handle and they weren't going to be there, and it ended up being like 10 people trying to fight over that one spot.
Ooh, I mean, everyone wants to be wanted, right? I mean, so the the question I've got to ask then is, what is the most impressive or most memorable of those 10-man fleets? I mean,
I've got two of them. I'll probably link them to Alondria so that they can figure out whether or not they want to share them, because they're both on my YouTube channel. One of them is the Nidhogger kill, and I don't know if it's really close between the Nidhogger and we took a fight against like 40 or 50 guys from I want to say it was Hell and Osai, those two corps, and fleet wiped them twice.
oh damn, yeah, please, give us a link to your YouTube channel. It sounds like I've got some studying to do.
Yeah, I mean, one of the speaking of studying, one of the concerns that people had with Alondria joining us was, but it's Alondria, like the spy master Alondria. I was like, guys, we don't have anything to spy on. I was like,
Oh yeah,
I post all the Hiss stuff so everyone knows about what we do with that. I was like, I mean, we don't have structures. The most they could spy on is who the contract target is, and anyone who's an NPSI or contractor tag can see that. So like, it doesn't take anything to pop into our server and be like, "Hey, I'd like a contractor tag." That's just
oh
what
yeah. I
happens.
mean, it's very similar with a lot of what Brethren Court gets up to. It's like, I mean, spy on us all you want. All you're going to get is our fleet pings, and we don't overly care. If if you know we're coming, that means we're getting a fight, so we're happy with it.
It does make the management and due diligence much easier. One of the most heartbreaking things as an FC is if you go out and you have a fleet but you don't get any content that day because like everyone is just docking up and man, I got that so many times when I went through certain people's space and OG and Void they're known to be selective about which fights they take and which fights they don't take. So it can be it can disappoint you. TSC has lately not been disappointing. Those cows will fight. I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
Those cows got attitude.
Oh yeah, they do. Yeah, they do not like people going into the pasture.
I mean,
I'm okay with it because I've already got stuff staged there.
well, I mean, you remember that night that I was trying to catch up to you in the Krur, Latara? Well,
Oh, you
yeah.
mean I just randomly go, "Yo, guys, I'm Roman. Anyone want to come?" Get
And
about three or
yeah,
four
and
people join me,
you and
and then
Dragon
me
decide that
and
you're gonna go and eat by yourselves.
I mean, you get a target, you got to go for it. I
Okay,
mean,
fine.
we killed two faction cruisers and only lost an RB3, and she only lost the RB3 because she was greedy trying to loot.
So meanwhile, me and another court member, we're on our way there, and it's like, well, what are we gonna do now that you've gone and yeeted? I'm like, okay, screw it. So I logged out NTSC space in the Krur, and I'm rolling through their space the next day, and I've got two cows trailing me. Like they're just tailing me, and wouldn't you know it, I get to K4. Guess who's there to greet me? Maddie. Maddie
Oh yeah,
with a no gate
good
camp.
old
Like,
Matty her.
dude had a chimera sitting on the gate, and I think he also had a dreadnought sitting on the gate, along with a small dictator. Now, ordinarily that means to go in, blow up the dictator, and then and then leave. But the carrier, now that they have these implants and everything, you don't know if those carriers pilots has the implants, and if they do, those things will like nuke you at warp speed because of how fast they move and how hard they hit. So I had to get the F out. And it's a good thing I did because guess what? As soon as I warped off that gate, because I was stabbed, guess who pops in? Immortal's Rage and Miller. The entire Nova fleet just like jumps in. I'm like, well, I'm screwed. And Dragon just like sends me a message on Bell Discord. It's like, yeah, we were returning from killing a capital ship. I'm like, so your whole fleet was there? Yeah, our whole fleet was there. Okay, okay. I made the right decision.
And you know how rabid No will get when they see anyone on
Yeah,
ship. It's just like kill,
yeah.
must kill, kill,
Oh
kill.
yeah, I literally just like posted in local Maddie why he laughed at me. But no, they were gonna get me. And the thing about it is, I had no choice but to log off in K4 because I was I was escaping two cow pilots that had been tailing me. So they were behind me and Noah's in front of me. I'm like, well, this has turned into a pretty good day. I guess I'm just gonna log off until this whole thing clears up and hope that they shoot each other. So
Problem goes away because the problems killed each other.
well, I mean, if No killed the two TSC pilots that were tailing me, I don't care. It's great, good content for them, and I don't have to worry about it. So I can just turn right back around and go back into their space, right? But if or maybe those two TSC pilots would just turn around and go back into their own space when they saw the huge No fleet, because it was a big fleet, dude. Like I was on that gate, and the moment that I warped into a safe spot, Immortals, Miller, and all the rest of the No guys started populating the system. I'm like, all right, I should probably log off until they before they scan me out, cause, dude, dude, it was. If I had stayed there much longer, trust me, Miller would have tackled me. Well, he would have tried to, but I didn't feel like dealing with that mess.
Well, that's the thing. It's one of those. Sometimes the most fun on a roam is being that small feat that's like trying to extract or trying to like spread out the enemy because there's a lot of them, and being able to get sneak a kill in here and there, and like basically play cat and mouse. Like you think you're running, and then oh, all of a sudden you're not, and they're dying. But I mean, it's very, very good to see, in my opinion, it's 6.
Business. I think fun is a more accurate.
Well, yeah, that too. That too. I mean,
It's
I
hard.
want
It's
to
hard to be
know.
professional in an alliance entirely of people who just want to shoot at things.
No, yeah,
Dude, we're in one of
I can
those.
definitely
We're
understand.
in one of those. It's like the weirdest thing in the world when pirates have to meet up for a meeting to determine how they're gonna deal with a tax system. So, I mean, you dodge that, right? And the only thing I would tell you is, from personal experience, eventually, as you try to get into the upper echelon of taking more advanced contracts and stuff, you're probably gonna end up like it's something you really can't escape, right? So I would just tell you to prepare yourself for that. You're going to have to set that up eventually because No has it, Burr has it, and there's a reason they exist. Like when we started, or when the corporation started to join Burr, there were very few. There were very few rules in terms of how complicated we wanted to make, generating money for the alliance and building dreadnoughts and getting fleet doctrines and stuff together. But we started to realize as we took more advanced contracts, those things were essential. So it's great, when you're first starting off, not to really have that. But I mean, dude, prepare yourself because it's coming. It's coming. It may not be this month or next month, but eventually it's going to land on your desk, and you're going to have to figure out how you're going to solve those problems with people that just want to shoot things.
I think the biggest thing is because everyone just wants to shoot things, and like that's for most of us, that's all they do. Like for me, I rarely rat, if at all. I don't really do any indie stuff. I have an indie account that I haven't logged into in over a year. Um, I myself and a few of the others, at least in my corp, over 90% of our income is from PvP. And we've figured out enough to know when to leave, so we're not dealing with spending all of that income on IP. And then we've already explained to those who have, gotten with us, like, hey, like, we're not holding Sov. Like, if you decide you want Sov, and you can put it out there, I don't care. We're not gonna do caps either. Like, that's just not. We're not gonna deal with that. If you have a cap and it gets tackled and you ping for it, I can't guarantee that anyone will show up. I probably will if it's close enough because I just want to shoot at things, right? If you're tackled, someone's showing up to shoot at you, which means there's targets for me. Um, but I'm not traveling 30 plus jumps. Like if you're 12 jumps away, I'll go there. If it's more than that, probably not.
I hear you.
Um, and then I think everyone was just tired of wherever they went, what the tax structure became, and all of the requirements that they're having to deal with in order to do that. I mean, when GenFed was still a thing, we were picking up weekly, 100 bill payout contracts. Like I have the dashboard link somewhere still from we had several trillion in ISK destroyed during our GenFed contract season.
Yep. Well, I mean, as long as it's working, right? As long as it's working. And by the way, so it looks like there are a couple of questions, or at least there's one question in the sound of us. And with these questions, guys, I'm sure that Perpetuous doesn't mind answering some of them. Keep them fun and friendly and all that other good stuff. You know how we do things here on New Eden FM. So with the questions, you can feel free to answer them if you want. And if it's something that you would prefer not to answer, you don't really have to answer it. It looks like Damon Zhao did post a
No,
question.
I do enjoy Damon's.
Okay, okay.
um, I mean, six has been labeled the bargain basement or Walmart version of no, of SHH, of anyone who takes contracts. Everyone's like, oh, six is just the Walmart version or the good value version or what have you.
Wait, hold on.
Like,
SHH takes
okay, cool. We're
contracts?
still getting to shoot at things.
Wait, SHH takes contracts now? This is new. Okay, I was just like, dude, SHH is taking contracts? Damn, everyone is trying
I,
to get into the mercenary business these days, right?
there, yeah. So like, my Reddit account has plenty of like tags of people saying, like, oh, you guys are just, Walmart this, or like, someone's garage sale version of this corp. Like, all right, cool. You died to us, so I really don't care what your opinion is. Like, it's not my fault you got shot by the Walmart version of no. That's a great bragging right you got there.
I mean, it is kind of nice when people like
I mean, I think
demean you, right? And you blow them up anyway.
realistically, it's a case of Sixt and No and Burr all are able to offer different variations on contracts and in different ways, right? I mean, comparing Sixt to No, I mean, No's what, like twice your size and has been around for, well, twice as long at this point, if you include the previous iteration of Sixt. So it's one of those, right? I don't believe in slating people for the sake of slating people. I think it's more of salt factor from people.
To be honest, it's kind of nice though, don't you think? It's like when Burr was formed, everyone was like, "Well, it's just GenFed 2.0, right?" And then we took contracts against them and we shot them, and they were like, "Well, okay, so you guys have some PvPers," and they shut up. But it's brilliant because there are those that are out there that go, "Oh well, it's just GenFed 2.0, right? Or it's just the bargain brand version of No or whatever." But it's like, well, can you get the job done? And that part, I don't know. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it's about what you can take and what you can't take. There are certain contracts in the early part of Burr that we did not take because we weren't ready to take those contracts. But nowadays we can take those contracts. I think it's the same thing for any mercenary organization or upcoming organization. There's going to be a point where there are certain contracts you can take and certain contracts you have to walk away from. And as long as you're not biting off more than you can chew, which I think is the most important thing, your contract completion rating stays up. It's not about how many contracts you're taking, it's about what's the ratio of completions you have versus failures. Um, and I think that should also be attributed in mercenary work as far as how the alliances are tallied. When it comes down to it, No has a really good, obviously, they have a very good reputation of getting their contracts done and stuff. They actually thought it was going to be a lot easier. I think they took a contract against us in the early stages of Burr, and I think it started to cost them more than they were making. So I don't know if that contract got finished. And Run was like, dude, you guys are stronger than I thought you would be. I'm like, yeah, Burr is Burr. Um, so at the end of the day, I think it's fine. It's totally fair. People are going to say what they're going to say. And I'm not saying this is not Damon Zell's. When I say this, haters are going to hate. There are going to be those that are going to hate on Six, but there are those that hate on No. And there are those that hate on Red Sea, and there are those that hate on Silent. Silent has more haters than anybody else. This right now, I think Silent is winning the trophy for like number of haters in New Eden. So I'm just saying it's perfectly good. But I'm
Yeah,
gonna
no, it really just becomes more ammo to troll whoever it is who's, trying to say that kind of stuff, right?
dude.
Because, like, how are you going to say that, that's the Walmart version of this? Imagine, and then my response is usually, imagine being so bad at PvP that you died to the Walmart version of no.
Dude, that's a
So
great
you either have
response,
to
though.
admit that you're garbage or that the other group is better than you want to say they are.
One way or another. I mean, if they got killed, right? It's I that's why it's better not to say things that you are eventually going to have to, take a few steps back on, right? Just say be nice to people and and ultimately respect how people want to play the game. When I first started to interact with no pilots, I didn't know them as pilots. In fact, I was in Pantheon, and Pantheon was anti no. I mean, Sun Banana had determined that nope, no had to be destroyed, or no couldn't hold Sav, or whatever. He had already determined that. So technically speaking, I should have been an enemy of no. Like in general, I should have been an enemy of no. Where they had every right to hate me just because of the banner I was flying under. When I was asked how I felt about no, I mean, what am I supposed to say about it? I mean, they're just some guys that are playing the game the way they want to play the game. I mean, what do I have to hate about? If I get killed by no, I get killed by no. It's fine. Which I was happy that I had that outlook on things because, as it turns out, no did the heavy lifting in the Pantheon War. Along with people like Bot 5. And so those same people that were like, well, no this and no that, eventually you got killed, you got shot by no, and it's like, dude, I mean, didn't wasn't it better like not to say all those things about no and be able to be friends with it, because at the end of the day everyone's part of one Eve universe, right? And eventually, you never know, you might end up flying with those pilots. Burr has a reasonably good relationship with no, and I'm glad for that. You know what I mean? Because we'll shoot each other, but we'll also team up and do NPSIs, and we'll do other stuff. And I think that it brings a good amount of balance to the game that way. And hopefully, six ends up the exact same way, where it's like, okay, yeah, the six guys are cool. Let's do some NPSI guys, fleets with them, and hopefully you guys will accept some of those invitations and just if you like shooting stuff, just shoot stuff with us. I promise it is good fun. It's like the pirate.
Well, I mean, I'll be
or
honest. The
something.
last time we did an NPSI with a big entity, they had a couple groups of fleets together, and it resulted in a lot of the NPSI invitees being shot at. One of the six pilots, or a couple of the six pilots, lost like strikers and stuff
Oh my gosh,
uh,
that sucks.
to some stuff going on in a no fleet NPSI action that we were invited to. It
Wow,
was
we
glorious.
gotta watch that. Okay, but for those of you guys that still have questions for Perpetuous, please get them in, and we're going to put you in the mix of some awesome music. I believe that this was a request earlier, Kick Push, Lupa Fosco. Turn it up, check it out. Yes, and this is indefinitely Eve Talk. But we've already been having Eve Talk along with Perpetua, who is representing Six, the newly resurrected Six. I believe that this is maybe the second time that Six has the second resurgence of Six. Not the third, correct? Just sure about that.
That would be correct. We've joked that it's sixth, third era because the second era started when I took over the Alliance from Good Space Guy.
Okay, so that would probably be what I heard. So it's like what there's a 6-2. Okay, so it's like basically six version 3. But you guys seem like you're starting with the foundation of what's important in every PvP organization, and that is go out, get some kill mails, show yourself capable of being able to do what needs to be done, get the job done, and by demonstrating that you can keep up and you can you can kill really well, get more contracts, get more contracts, get more contracts. And I think I mentioned this during our last music break, but one thing that I would say, as like with mercenary organizations, foundation is super important, and it's what happened with Mercenary Coalition. I was really excited to see Mercenary Coalition coming back, and I'd heard of of Provis One's abilities on the grid. He was before I became an FC and started to do FC work, and I knew that he had done some really amazing things, kind of the same as Aura in Genesis Federation, and of course we have both of them in burnout, but Promise One was helping to rebuild Mercenary Coalition, and they had contracts lined up, and there was a chance if Bell didn't end up in in Burr, we might have ended up in MC. And unfortunately, they didn't have enough traction because you have to have obviously the corporations that's the foundation of any alliance. If you don't have the personnel and essentially good commanders over your corporation, then you're effed from the very beginning. But it seems like Six already has a pretty good foundation because you guys pretty much retained all of your members as far as PHPC was concerned. Mug already has a stable foundation of players that flies together all the time. I don't know as much about his, but I'm pretty sure that you guys are reasonably steadfast in terms of how you handle things as a corporation. So to that,
Yeah, it's it's good not really having to recruit anyone to get the alliance back up and going. Like I'd said earlier, like all it took was a message 2 weeks before me getting home on the Discord that just said Sixth is coming back. That was it. That's the only message I sent. I tagged everyone in an announcement that said Sixth is coming back.
right,
And to get everyone who was a part of it already, who kind of knew how everything went, to already be wanting to come back to it. Especially knowing that like they had 2 weeks where I wasn't going to be able to really get anything done from the alliance leadership side because I was not home. I was where I what I do for work keeps me outside of cell service for a good portion of it. So like I could talk, every couple of days, but um, for the most part, it was just hey, this is what's happening. You're probably not going to hear from me for 2 weeks. And then everyone wanting to come back. It was really helpful as well as a little bit stressful that everyone was on board within 2 days, as opposed to having to wait for people to make the decision at the corp level. It was already kind of the corps had already decided they were tired of where they were, or were ready to move on to something else or go back to what they preferred. Um,
I had actually heard some stories about that from different people, and it was one of the challenges that Terran Federation faced when they were first, organizing themselves. Terran Federation was built from people who were some of them had come from Six and they were PvP pilots, and they weren't really self-holding entities, so they didn't really want to like defend structures and stuff like that. Others were coming from organizations that were very Care Bear oriented, and that's what they wanted to do. They wanted to have um, a castle in the sky, literally, and in places where they could farm and build stuff and so on and so forth. And anytime you have something like that, it can be very challenging from an administrative standpoint to make sure that everyone gets what they want. Because if they don't get what they want, I mean, what's the point of I mean, putting your quarters into the machine every month, right? So you can play that subscription fee, so you can keep playing the game if you're not really getting the gameplay experience that you want. So Terran Federation had this problem, but I think that you dodged that problem, and it's also a possibility that many of the people that left Six to go over to TF realized that the soft life wasn't for them, which probably made your job a little easier, right?
oh yeah, no, it definitely made it a lot easier. Like when I talked to David and the PHPC guys, there wasn't even really a real vote. Like David said, yeah, we're going to vote on it just so that everyone can say they voted for it, or whether, or say they didn't vote for it if, there's a small percentage that doesn't want to. But we're going to be joining in. And then it ended up being like something like 80 or 70 or 80% of the people were like, yeah, let's go back to that because that was more fun than this.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I I don't always like the bureaucratic stuff that I have to do in Burr, but it's worth it for those capital fleets. I'm sorry. I don't like it, right? Like I don't think that any of us really like bureaucratic stuff, but the end result of it for us was that we ended up with a really good capital fleet. So I mean, it's got to be what what your people want. And if they don't want that, and if what they want is just to go out, have some fun, shoot some stuff, and call it a day, then you're in good space. But every every group has that, and I'll be honest, man. I don't envy Silent. We talk about them and everything, about some of the things that they do, and some of us don't. We don't agree with the things they do, but it takes an astounding amount of administrative um, strength to hold together a federation that's that big. A
Oh,
coalition of like
absolutely.
17
Yeah. No, like
alliances. That's hard, dude. You gotta hand it to
I
Zen
no,
and
I
K to win.
absolutely like as much as I hate taxes and all the politics and everything, I applaud them for what they're able to do when it comes to keeping those big groups together, keeping
Yeah.
coalitions together and whatnot. That's an impressive feat in and of itself.
Yes, it is. I mean, it's not for me. I don't want that responsibility,
Oh no,
but
absolutely
it's.
not. No,
I don't want it.
I would hate to have to do
Well,
that.
I mean, it was a much smaller group of people, and I did it for a while with Happy Bees, and oh my gosh, when the people will tell you that when I got to Genesis Federation, I was so burned out that I was given FC roles just so that I could call fleets, because I wanted to call fleets occasionally, but for the most part, that was it. I just called fleets when I wanted to call fleets, and I took over fleets when Mama Saurus or Mel or someone else wanted me to take a fleet, and handle it. And I also um, rode shotgun with Toby and help with some of those fleets. But as far as getting in there and and doing like the administrative work I was doing in Pantheon, try to take care of people, and by the end of it, goon high command. So it's now it's my job to do it. Like all before, I was doing it as an FC, but once I became goon high command, now it's my job to do this. It's like, oh my gosh. And I woke up every day and there was just a big pile, sometimes like 20 DMs. Like every channel just like highlighted red on my Discord. And that's what being in that situation is like. And I would imagine that like it's probably like that, like even in No, it's part of the reason why Tahini just wanted to back off and be an FC, I'm sure. You get those big DMs, like just all over the place. So if you can avoid that in your leadership, congratulations, because that was my life as essentially one of the executors in an alliance. It was waking up every day, there being a big wall of DMs waiting for me in my inbox. The moment I rolled out of bed, checked my phone, Discord just had a bunch of pings waiting, and half of them were from the same annoying guy that was sending me messages. And like apparently the answer that I gave that was no yesterday had to have changed in the past like 12 hours, right? Because he's back to asking me the same question yet again the next day. so that's kind of sort of the life, and I managed to avoid that life. Mel asked me to do stuff occasionally, but it's nothing like that, right? And fortunately, we have a pretty good administrative team. So right now, you can avoid all that stuff. Keep avoiding it if possible, because this is my experience, and I'm just telling you that it's not fun. And if you have to do it, make sure you have a team helping you to do it, because if you try to do it by yourself, you're gonna end up like me. I'm surprised that I didn't start to get gray hair. Very shocked that I walked out of that without gray hair or wrinkles. I don't know how it happened. It was like some kind of divine intervention that I did not walk out of there with gray hair, because I was constantly, dude, like every day. And you find out why people like Sun Banana, when he left, he just left. He was like, I'm done with this. Mama Saurus at the end of it. She left, she was done with it. Those people, they just left, and they are not coming back. You know what I mean? They're not interested in coming back. Um so yeah, I mean, and I'm also looking at Rumblin' Roz No Spy. Good to see you again, brother. And yeah, okay. So you see that what he is what he is doing right there. People stopped doing that because I would literally answer the question one time, and then I would just ignore. I would ignore it after that. But Roz, good to see you. You're looking a lot happier and healthier these days. So I'm happy that everything is working out well for you. And for those of you that don't know, Roz was one of the founding members, the founding hosts for New Eden FM, spanning all the way back to the days back when we were still Pantheon Radio. We had him, and at first it was myself, him, and Raider Rockason, and we did that for a while. Raider ended up retiring from the game and decided that he was going to go back to Elite Dangerous and such. And so I guess times just changed. Weird. This whole thing is weird. Maybe it's time for me to retire. Pass the reins to
Mackenzie,
someone
unicorn
else.
spy confirmed.
Yeah, I am actually a unicorn. You heard it here on on New Eden FM. I'm actually a unicorn. Um, but yeah, okay. So, anyways, now that I've blown my cover, I guess that yeah, I know, right? It happened. Now that I've blown my cover, I suppose that's we're done for today's episode of New Eden FM.
My mind is blown right now. It
Yeah,
is just absolutely blown. I mean, unicorn. Wow.
yeah. As it turns out, and I've been hiding it this whole time. And I'm not just any unicorn. I'm a unicorn that has wings.
That would make you a
Capricorn.
what's the cross between a unicorn and a Pegasus? Because that Pegasus are horses who have wings, unicorns have horns, so would that make you a unicis? Maybe?
That's weird. I don't. And
I
plus,
know, right?
I don't like being associated with anything that begins with Eura whatever because it's too close to other words that I don't like. Thank you very much.
Oh. Huh. We'll think on that. If you have any ideas on what the
Oh
cross between a
man,
unicorn and
I'm
a
pretty sure
Pegasus
it's
is,
I'm
throw it
pretty sure it's
in
called an
sound of us.
alicorn.
it's
I
a
think
what?
it's an alicorn.
An
An
alicorn.
alicorn?
Yeah.
An alicorn. Oh my gosh.
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure it's an alicorn.
Okay, I'm gonna go roam now.
That's my weird D&D knowledge
I'm gonna go
for
kill
you.
someone.